Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking the collection of source material you've shared with us, headlines, reports, some intriguing facts, and diving into a snapshot of a single day in Nigeria, June 2025.
Yeah, think of this as opening up a specific moment in time. You've given us newspaper headlines, some fascinating did you know notes, and a today in history entry. It's a window into what was happening, both big and small, on that particular Monday.
And our goal with your material is really to be your guides, helping you quickly cut through the noise. We'll try to extract the most important insights, find connections you might not initially see, and hopefully uncover some surprising aha moments to help you get well informed about this day.
Right. So let's start unpacking this stack and see what the picture of June 2nd, 2025 looks like through these sources you provided.
Okay. Looking at the headlines right away, your sources they hit you with the weight of some pretty significant challenges facing the nation. There's some really heartbreaking news of loss and ongoing conflict.
Absolutely. The human cost is stark from the outset. That Monkwa flood headline. The death toll is reported to have tragically risen to 153.
153, wow.
Yeah, and it wasn't an isolated incident of disaster either. The sources also note the Aroa Consultative Forum, that's a key northern socio-political group, mourning flood victims, not just in Niger State where Mokwa is, but also Kano.
So multiple regions hit hard.
Exactly. This single event, recorded on this day, highlights a major natural disaster impacting multiple areas.
That scale of loss is just immense, captured in one headline. And sort of layered on top of that, the security situation is front and center. 9 people feared killed in a bomb attack in Borno, with the Borno speaker specifically calling for increased military action.
And what's critical here, I think, is how these sources show the multi-layered nature of insecurity. It's not just internal conflict. They also include a U.S. assessment warning that terrorists are potentially eyeing the Nigerian and broader West African coastline.
Right, the coastline. That adds a whole different dimension.
It does. A potential external threat overlapping with domestic challenges.
Okay, expanding the scope beyond just localized incidents and digging a bit deeper into the security and crime notes in your material, we see headlines about Catholic parishes having to shut down in Benue State.
Due to attacks, yeah. Suspected herders.
Police actively hunting a suspect after a death in a Bay Elsa hotel, and 3 suspected cultists arrested in Lagos.
So in just this one day's news that you've pulled together, you see major natural disaster, significant loss of life, ongoing insurgency, potential external threats, communal conflicts, and, urban crime issues. It's a heavy look.
It really is.
At the persistent, multifaceted security and humanitarian challenges across different parts of the country.
It really gives you a sense of the daily struggles captured in the news. But moving from those immediate, deeply concerning issues, your sources also provide, a clear window into the economic currents and major policy debates dominating the headlines on June 2nd.
Yes, the economy is clearly a central focus in your material. We see specific data points that spark conversation, like a quote attributed to Dangote stating Nigeria's petrol price is significantly lower, 55% below the West African average.
Which immediately brings up questions about subsidies, pricing, regional trade dynamics, all of that.
Definitely. And related to that energy picture, the president of ECOWAS, that's the Economic Community of West African States, is quoted saying the Dangote refinery has the capacity to meet the region's needs.
So those 2 points together from your sources highlight both a domestic pricing issue and maybe a potential regional supply solution, all in the same day.
Right. And on the government policy front, your sources are packed with details. President Tinubu is noted for mentioning the National Single Window Initiative.
Aimed at trade efficiency, right? Streamlining imports, exports.
Exactly. Then there's news about the federal government's nationwide gas-powered vehicle scheme intended to promote cleaner fuel, reportedly running into a major hitch.
A hitch, okay. But at the same time, someone named Opifa is quoted discussing the potential for using compressed natural gas, or CNG, for railways.
So you see policy announcements aimed at trade, a significant national transport initiative facing problems, and specific ideas being floated about alternative fuels or infrastructure like railways. It's quite a mix.
Yeah, and your sources also point to major development plans. The FG planning, 77,400 housing units?
That's the number. And unveiling a plan to boost local production of healthcare products.
And then at the state level, specific projects like the Lagos State Governor Sano Olu launching a €410 million project aimed at easing gridlock, I think.
Gridlock, yes. And the Lagos state government implementing an electronic call-up system specifically for the Lekki-Epa area, presumably to manage traffic or movement related to economic activity there.
Okay, so a lot happening on the policy and projects front. What about the financial side?
The financial pulse of the nation is also visible in your material. 7 banks' reserves with the CBN, the Central Bank of Nigeria, are reported to have surged to N18.8 trillion.
Wow, 18.8 trillion.
Yeah, and pension funds are noted as hitting N23 trillion. There's news about positive financial support for businesses, too. 22 firms received N16.1 billion in the first tranche of a N75 billion relief loan program.
That sounds like a significant injection of funds, but also notes like N1.9 trillion in oversubscribed Sukuk cash that's a type of Islamic bond is due for refund.
Yes, pointing perhaps to careful fiscal management regarding that specific funding instrument, or maybe just high demand.
And business activity is highlighted too. The presidency asserting that IOC's international oil companies are not exiting Nigeria.
Right, countering potential rumors or concerns on that front.
Producers claiming crude oil theft has significantly reduced. And a specific business dispute making headlines. BUA, a major conglomerate challenging a former official, Bala Usman, regarding a concession agreement.
So specific corporate battles playing out. And market-level indicators like NAD, which is Nigeria's over-the-counter securities exchange, reaching N1.9 trillion in capitalization.
Alongside a warning from ABCON, the Bureau de Change Association, that 3 million BDC jobs are threatened by planned recapitalization requirements for currency exchange operators.
Right. And here's where your sources capture a really fascinating tension: the conflicting views on the economy's direction and the impact of current reforms.
Ah, yes, I saw that. Onanuga, a presidential aide, is quoted confidently stating that Tinubu's reforms will ease the cost of living soon.
But then, a faction of Afenifere, a prominent Yoruba sociocultural group, states that Tinubu's economic reforms are causing rising poverty.
Wow, so on the very same day presented in the news you found, you have these two diametrically opposed assessments of the economic situation.
Exactly. It really shows the depth of debate and disagreement surrounding the government's policies at that moment.
And the government's stance on debt is also noted, with the presidency stating there's no sin in borrowing, sort of positioning debt as a necessary tool.
And your sources even include an international economic link. Nigeria is reportedly affected as Saudi Arabia suspends block work visas.
Potentially impacting Nigerian workers or businesses involved with that market.
Yes. It's a really complex picture of economic activity, policy initiatives, significant debate, and global connections.
Okay, so moving beyond the economy, the headlines you've provided also give us a clear picture of governance in action, evolving labor relations, and legal matters playing out on this particular day.
Labor issues are certainly making news. We see ultimatums being issued by key worker groups, NARD, the National Association of Resident Doctors, giving the federal government 4 weeks.
4 weeks?
And judiciary workers giving the FG a 2-week ultimatum. This signals potential disruptions if their demands aren't met.
However, counteractions are also noted in your material, indicating maybe negotiations or shifting strategies. The Supreme Court, the National Judicial Council, NJC, and the Federal High Court are reported to have withdrawn from a potential June 2nd strike.
Right. And positive news for some workers, with the Nigerian Air Force, NAF, raising its personnel allowance by 100%. So you see both confrontation and, well, maybe some progress in labor relations.
Politically, your sources capture some notable statements and events. Former Minister Amaichi is quoted making a direct political statement, saying he told President Tinubu he wouldn't vote for him.
Quite direct. And another former minister has resigned from the ruling party, the APC. Plus, the APC had to issue a statement debunking a claim from another figure, Dalong, about the existence of a cabal influencing things in the Tinubu government.
Right, pushing back against that narrative. And a particularly memorable quote from Governor Oti of Abia State, who is reported as saying he'll consult God on his 2027 re-election plans.
Yes, that one certainly stands out among the more conventional political news items.
Legal issues also feature in the day's news flow. Natasha Akpoti Udugan is set to appear in court related to a defamation case.
And Silikop, that's a civil society organization focused on accountability, is suing the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, over alleged missing oil funds.
Highlighting ongoing concerns about transparency there.
Definitely. And on the international front, your sources note an Indian court jailed a Nigerian for 5 years for illegal entry, showing the legal consequences faced by citizens abroad.
Okay. Other governance notes. The FG unveiling a unified writing manual for public service communications.
A move aimed at standardizing official language, perhaps for clarity.
And inaugurating a planning committee for a national industrial summit. State governors are also active, with Oyebanji Evekiti urging local governments, LGs, to leverage their autonomy for development.
And Ubasani of Kaduna, telling activists to defend democracy and keep politicians accountable. Kind of a call to action.
It is, and specific state-level actions from your sources paint a diverse picture of governance, too. Lagos State planning to reintroduce monthly environmental sanitation.
Kano declaring a public holiday to honor athletes who died. Governor Abiodun of Ogun donating N31 million to the families of those same athletes.
The tragic link there.
Yes. Edo commencing property owner profiling. Osun State reportedly tapping project funds to pay LG workers.
Interesting note on finances there.
Kano also declaring a Salah break for schools, and the Enugu governor taking action to move a girl rescued from a ritualist to a rehabilitation facility.
Specific, tangible actions governments are taking or responding to. It really shows the immense breadth of issues government bodies, from federal to local, are grappling with daily.
Absolutely.
Now, let's shift to the headlines and notes in your sources that touch more on social dynamics, culture, and individual human stories. These often provide a different kind of insight than the major political or economic news.
They really bring the focus down to the human level, don't they? Beyond the major tragedies like the floods and security incidents we started with, we see other social issues reported, such as the water shortage in Abuja.
With the FCT minister, Wyke, providing an update on rehabilitating treatment plants.
Right. And states are also actively moving to evacuate people from flood zones because of the grim toll captured in other headlines we saw.
And your sources include a very personal story amidst the national news. A family seeking help to raise N18 million for a child's heart surgery.
Yeah, that's a powerful reminder that alongside the macro events, these individual struggles are a daily reality captured in the news.
Absolutely. There are also stories of personal achievement and moments in education. The headline about Patience Jonathan, the former First Lady, bagging a PhD at her age is certainly inspiring.
And the Bauchi governor congratulating her shows it's a publicly recognized accomplishment. It got noticed.
Plus, notes about NIPSS, the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, stating they won't succumb to blackmail from students.
Which hints at maybe some underlying tensions or issues within that institution.
And students reportedly hailing President Tinubu on a stipend, showing a positive reaction to a specific government program among, well, a segment of the population.
Cultural and religious notes include Saudi Arabia planning to translate the Arafah sermon, a crucial part of the Hajj pilgrimage, into numerous languages, including Hausa, Yoruba, and Fulani, among 34 others.
That's quite significant for accessibility for Nigerian pilgrims, surely.
Huge. And an archbishop is quoted urging journalists to be agents of hope on World Communication Day, reflecting on the role of media.
Sports also makes an appearance with news about Super Falcons versus Cameroon friendly match being postponed again.
Scheduling issues there. And the tragic story of the Kano athletes we heard about earlier reappears.
How so?
Well, an NNPP chieftain, the New Nigeria People's Party, specifically linked their deaths to inadequate road infrastructure.
Tying a personal tragedy to a broader critique of public services.
Exactly. Traditional leadership is noted as well, with the Lagos governor mourning the passing of the Olu of Epe. And your sources include a strong political and social statement from IPOB, the indigenous people of Biafra.
What did it say?
Saying some Igbo politicians may sell their conscience but cannot sell Biafra. This highlights a persistent identity and political movement issue captured in the day's headlines.
So these stories, big and small, add crucial layers to the day's narrative captured in your sources.
Definitely, they fill out the picture.
Okay, let's step back now and maybe connect some of the dots that your sources provide, especially those intriguing did you know and today in history notes. This is where the material can reveal some surprising links, perhaps.
Yeah, there's one connection that really jumps out and provides significant context. Remember the headline about a man setting himself on fire in Algeria over alleged injustice?
Yes, a really stark and disturbing headline. Hard to forget.
Well, if we place that next to one of your did you know facts, A powerful historical parallel emerges. The Arab Spring, that wave of protests across North Africa and the Middle East that reshaped the region starting in 2010,
Right, huge historical event.
was famously ignited by the self-immolation of a fruit seller,
Right.
Mohamed Bouazizi, in Tunisia, protesting police corruption and humiliation.
Wow. So your sources on the same day present a current event, this act of desperation in Algeria that directly echoes the catalyst for a major historical movement.
Exactly. That makes the Algeria headline resonate far more deeply than just an isolated incident. It immediately makes you think about underlying causes, social frustration, and how individual acts can sometimes reflect much larger systemic issues, just as Bouazizi's did.
It absolutely does. A really potent connection there. Are there echoes of past catalysts for change present in today's news? That's the question it raises, prompted by your material.
Precisely. And then, in a completely different vein, dropped into your collection is another did-you-know fact.
Yeah.
An ostrich's eye is bigger than its brain.
Right. Slightly amused tone. Talk about a change of pace.
Yes. Right after discussing major historical parallels, you get a surprising, slightly quirky biological fact.
It's a moment that really highlights the sheer, sometimes random diversity of information that makes up a single day's news intake, makes you pause for a second amidst all the intensity.
It certainly provides a moment of unexpected trivia. And contrasting with the daily news grind, the Today in History note in your sources tells us that Felix Mendelssohn's iconic wedding march was first used at a wedding on this day, June 2nd, in 1847,
1847.
and later became world famous after a royal wedding in 1858.
It's quite fascinating how a single day's collection of information like yours can swing from national tragedies, complex economic debates, legal challenges, and these stark contemporary acts of protest with historical echo.
All the way to quirky biological facts and historical notes about cultural milestones, like a famous piece of music.
Yeah. It emphasizes the diverse information streams that make up our understanding of a place and time.
Absolutely.
So pulling it all together, what does this specific snapshot from June 2nd, 2025 tell us, looking through your collection of sources?
Well, what your sources show us, I think, is a complex, multifaceted reality. In just 24 hours of news, you see widespread human tragedy due to floods and insecurity, granular details of economic policy debates and market performance,
The dynamics of governance, labor relations.
personal stories of struggle and achievement, and even these historical echoes and unexpected trivia points. It's all in there.
It really emphasizes how looking closely at the news of a single day, using the material you provided, gives you a concentrated window into the diverse challenges, realities, and even moments of unexpectedness within a nation like Nigeria. You've really explored key insights across these varied areas.
And it serves as a powerful reminder that the big picture isn't just broad trends. It's made up of countless individual stories, policy decisions, data points, and connections, all unfolding simultaneously.
It's been quite a journey through the specific headlines and notes from this day. As we wrap up this deep dive into your sources, consider this thought provoked by the range of stories we've seen. How do these seemingly disconnected pieces, from a devastating flood and a government plan for housing to a personal academic achievement and that historical echo of protest in Algeria, how do they collectively shape your understanding of a place and time?
And perhaps, building on one of the thoughts mentioned in your sources, Rick Warren's idea, don't waste your pain. Use it to help others. How does that resonate when you look at headlines filled with hardship, injustice, and loss, like some of the ones we discussed today?
Could the act of understanding these challenges, illuminated by exploring this specific day's news in your material, be a step towards finding solutions or, I don't know, offering support somehow?
Maybe. It's something to think about. What specific headline, detail, or connection stood out most to you from this deep dive?
And what does that reveal about what captures your attention in the bigger picture? Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.